So in this video, we're going to be talking about how we can use a money demand and money supply graph to understand the relationship between the quantity of money and the price level and the value of money. So recall that in the last video, we had talked about that one scoop of ice cream from Buy Right. Now, we said that if P is the price of that scoop, just thinking about maybe just that's the only thing we're buying, then 1 over P is going to be the value of that dollar, which is measured in goods, which is to say that if the scoop costs $3, right, $3 for a scoop, right, then $1 would buy 1 over 3 scoops, or a third of a scoop. Okay, so 1 over P is defined as, or is representing the value of a dollar measured in goods. Okay, now when we extend that idea of just having one scoop of ice cream in our basket to many goods, because we are talking about a macro economy, then we want to think about P as being reflected, or as reflecting the price level of a basket of goods, not just ice cream, but a basket of goods. So P can be thought of as being CPI or GDP deflator. So we want to keep that in mind going forward. Now, we're going to talk about two things: money supply and money demand. Now, in practice, you know that from the previous chapter, you know that it is the Federal Reserve that mostly controls money supply, but banks and consumers can also alter money supply in the system by holding money. So banks can probably hold money and not make loans, so they can hold excess reserves, or consumers can choose not to deposit their money in banks or withdraw more, and that would lead to a credit crisis in the banking system, right? And so here, we don't want to think about banks and consumers for now, but we want to assume that the Fed pretty much controls all of money supply. Okay, this is an assumption we're making. It's a simplifying assumption for our model. So we assume that the Fed controls it and fixes money supply. So the money supply does not vary with the price level. Okay, so money supply does not vary with the price level. You want to remember that going forward. And then when we think about money demand is basically referring to how much wealth or how much money do people want to hold in liquid form. Liquid form would be something like cash or demand deposits, checking or deposits in your checking account, etc. So liquid form, something that you have access to quickly. You can quickly liquidate it and use it. So that depends, your demand for money depends on the price level. So if that kid scoop became more expensive, your demand for money is going to go up. Okay. This is going to happen only if we are holding income constant. Okay. We're holding your income constant, and when we're saying, well, do you demand more money or less money when prices go up? So the idea here is that prices go up. If prices go up, money demand goes up. So we can even write this as, if prices go up, the value of money, which is 1 over P, falls, right? Intuitively, that should happen. If prices are going up, value of money should fall, and money demand should go up. So people would, when prices are higher, that is, the value of money is low, people demand a larger quantity of it to buy goods and services. So when prices are higher, value of money is low, people demand a larger quantity of money to buy goods and services. So we'll take these ideas in here to a graph. Okay, so we're going to talk about the money demand and money supply system. And for this, we are going to draw a graph that's rather unusual. Okay, so we'll have our standard X and Y axes. Okay, so on our X-axis, we're going to put quantity of money. And on our Y-axis, we're going to put value of money. So again, value of money is defined as 1 over the price level. Okay, so we have our vertical axis and we have our X-axis. I'm not going to draw an arrow on the X-axis, but I want to put something that would help us here. So I'm going to put price level here. I'm going to draw another axis here, which is going to measure the price level, P. Now, the only thing that's different about this axis is that it's going to be inverted. That is, that this is going to go from infinity to 0. Okay, that's what the axis looks like. Usually you're familiar with something going from 0 to infinity, 0 to infinity, right? But this one is going to go backwards. Okay, we'll try to understand what that means. So let's say the price level was $4. This is measured in dollars. So let's say this was $4. Let's say then this was $3. We're going backwards on this axis. And this is $1. Okay, so this is what the price level axis looks like. Okay, it's inverted. Now, since we know P, which is on the right side, we can determine what 1 over P is on the left side. Okay, so we can say then that if for the price level of $4, this corresponds to 1 over P, which is 1 over 4. Similarly, this is 1 over 3. This is half, and this is 1. Okay, so for each price level, we have value of money on the vertical axis. Okay, so this is basically showing you that as the price level rises, the value of money falls. Right? So you're looking at this is an increase. If you're going down this way, this is price level going up. And this is telling you that as price level is going up, value of money is falling. Okay, so this is the idea, or this is the framework we're going to operate in. Now, we know that the Fed fixes money supply. Okay, so the Fed can fix money supply, and that's going to be a vertical line. Okay, money supply is going to be, let's call this MS1. We're going to take a look at what happens if money supply changes. Now, the Fed fixes money supply. You remember from the last chapter that the Fed can control money supply, not perfectly, but almost perfectly. The Fed sets or fixes money supply regardless of the value of P. Of the value of P or price level. Okay, so let's say this was $2 trillion. Maybe they fixed it at $2 trillion. And we want to see now how does demand look like. So recall that for money demand, we said we were thinking about money demand. We want to understand what is the relationship between the value of money and the quantity of money that we demand. So when prices are higher, value of money is lower, and money demand is high. This is something we established in the last video. So notice this inverse relationship between value of money, which is 1 over P, and money demand. Now, if the relationship is, or if these two are inversely related, this is on the y-axis, this is on the x-axis, then you're going to have a downward sloping money demand curve. Okay, this is a curve that's downward sloping, and that's money demand. This is because y and x are inversely related. Now, we want to understand what happens if the quantity of money increases in the system. Okay, so what happens if there is a monetary injection? Okay. A monetary injection is going to shift the money supply curve, right? Who injects money into the system? It is the Fed. They might be conducting open market operations, or maybe using their other tools to control money supply. And if there is a monetary injection, let's see what happens. The money supply curve is going to shift to the right, and that is going to lead to us being somewhere here. Okay, this can be any magnitude of shift, but the idea is to understand what's going on when the curve shifts. So let's take a look at what was initial equilibrium. Okay, what was initial equilibrium? Initial equilibrium was where MS1, which is the first money supply curve, when that intersected with the money demand curve. Okay, so let's call this is probably the point right here at a price level of 3, which corresponds to the value of money being 1 over 3. Okay, but when money supply increased, this is associated with a price level of 4 and not 3. Yeah, and the value of money has fallen at this point. So at an initial equilibrium, we were at point A, and now we're at point B. So we can say initial equilibrium was at point A. Okay, maybe we can call this quantity of money. This was 2 trillion, and maybe this is 3 trillion. Okay, you can make it 4 trillion. This is the $2 trillion. Well, forget that. But yeah, let's just say that it was $1 trillion in terms of monetary injection. Okay, so you have point A at which the quantity of money was $2 trillion. This is your x-axis, okay, this x coordinate. And the value of money was 1 over 3. At point B, which is your new equilibrium after that monetary injection has taken place, this is the x coordinate is 3 trillion and the value of money has fallen. So what we're seeing here is that there is some sort of a mechanism going on. Okay, so what's going on in the graph? Why is the value of money falling? Okay, when you think about this initial level of the price level, which is $3, when we are at $3, an increase in money supply causes an excess supply of money in the system. So if we remained at $3, notice at this point, this is at $3, this is we are at that new money supply curve. So money supply is greater than money demand. Okay, there is a difference here. This difference right here is that excess money supply. And so in order for people to get rid of their excess money, they could either spend it on goods and services or loan it to others who would again spend it. Okay, and so at $3, with this increase in money, we have an excess supply of money. People have more money in their pockets, so people get rid of excess money. By spending on goods and services or making loans. Loans to people who would spend it, who again spend it. So what is the result? When people spend a lot, more money than usual, then the demand for goods and services goes up. When the demand for goods and services goes up, but the supply of goods does not increase, goods and services does not increase, prices go up. Okay, and that's what we're really seeing in this graph. At $3, there is that mismatch between supply and demand, right? This is supply and this is demand at $3. So prices must adjust to equate money demand and money supply, and that's why we end up at a point like point B, at which again money demand and money supply are equal, and prices have changed or prices have adjusted in order to ensure equilibrium or restore equilibrium. Okay, so that's the idea that shows you that when we have a monetary injection, prices go up, or there is inflation and the value of money falls. And you now know how to explain it with the help of a diagram, and also explain the intuition behind it. Now you can think about what would happen if there was a decrease in money supply in the system, right? That would lead to a price fall or the value of money going up. So you can practice that at home.